Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Unicorner. I'm back. It's been 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I guess, of no videos. So we're back, and I'm so excited to have such a lovely, lovely woman. Miriam Linderman is here with us. She is a writer, a mentor, a coach for professionals, and she is located in Vancouver. And I just love I'm going to say, I just love her, but I'm going to say it to you. I love you, Miriam. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. How lovely.
So what we're going to do today is we're talking about never too old. That was kind of the name of this episode. And you have a really amazing, courageous story about kind of starting over. And I think it's a really important conversation for us to have today, because I know a lot of women struggle with making decisions, like a courageous decision. And there's also a lot of women that feel like maybe they're too old to do something. And that's, as we know, is a bunch of BS, correct?
Yes. It's really helpful resistance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and I just wanted to tell everybody, if you're watching live, you can put comments in the comment section below, or if you're watching the video replay later, you can still write comments that we'll be able to see. And I have to apologize to everybody that I have a sinus infection. So if I'm talking really loud, it's because my ears are plugged and I can't hear anything. Okay, Miriam,
yes.
Let's dive into it. How does that sound? Let's dive into your story about starting over. Where do you want to begin?
Well, I think I want to begin with this. When I first saw the title, it said, and I mentioned this to you, it said never too old. And I looked at that word old and I thought, oh my God, this is like, there's a stigma and an energy around that word that is just not really positive. However, and so I love that I had that reaction, because I would like to, like everyone else, avoid the evidence of old, because the evidence is on the body level. It is not in any other place. Like, we can be creative up until our last breath, and we can be 112 or 20, and we could still be creative. It's like, but it's the way that we look that really women are sensitive about. So that was my first thing I wanted to say. And I thought, well, usually people say never too late.
Yes.
However, there's this quote by George Eliot, which says something like, you're never too old to do the things that you were meant to do, that you can always do them. But
yes.
So that was like my first, I wanted just to put that out there.
Yeah.
And it's true. That was something that I had thought about. Like, it was my, it was like a mantra. I'm too old. I'm too old. So let me just get to the beginning of the story, which is not the beginning, but it is at least the beginning of the journey.
Right.
So here's what happened. It was 2008. I was living in Calgary. It was sunny. Like, I remember this. You remember those moments?
Yes. And
it was May, and we were doing taxes because my ex was American and Canadian, and I was the one helping him. Now, I'm not a numbers person, so you can imagine the strain. And I also had a broken wrist.
Oh.
Yeah, I had a broken wrist, and in spite of that, I was still doing my little duties,
Wow.
So there we were, and he screamed at me. And at that moment, I said, I'm leaving. Now, it was 17 years of, I'm not even sure it was a good beginning. Like, there was a lot of alcohol involved. So when you're drinking and, there were many things involved. So there we were, and it had taken me a good 6 years just to change from the inside out. So by the time I got to that moment, I had already been reading. There was a book I really wanted to tell your viewers about. It's called Why Does He Do That? Inside the minds of angry and controlling men. And it was written by this guy, Lundy Bancroft. And this guy said that he was treating these men, and he wrote it for women. He wanted to warn women that these kind of people never change. So don't bother. Watch out.
Okay.
Bottom line.
Wow.
So it's 2008. I'm in the living room. He screams at me, and I know I'm going. And he went out. I don't know what. He probably, he liked to leave when we were mad. And I called my brother, who was in Montreal. I said, I'm leaving. It felt like I had to say it.
Right.
He thought, oh, do you want me to come and get you? And no, I said, no. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I have to go. I really have to go. And my daughter was in Europe with her husband, and I texted not texted, but I was chatting. And at that moment of decision, she said, look, why don't you come to Vancouver just for, a few days, and I'll send you a ticket. And it was Mother's Day. So we decided, soon. And so from that moment on, for 2 weeks, he slept in the master bedroom with his king size bed. I was in my little office in my single bed with my computer and all. I was in the office. I slept there.
Yeah.
Well, that afforded me the ability, because he wouldn't wake up until 10. I wanted to get my journals out, because I'm a writer and I have stuff, and I didn't want his hands on them. I have 2 instruments. I have, I've been carrying them around for 40 years. One is an Indian dotar, which is just, I love chanting, and I wouldn't part with that. And this guitar and some clothing. And I told my friends, and for the 2 weeks, I snuck these items one by one out of the house and to my friends for safekeeping. And I did not tell him that I was leaving for 10 days. Like that never had happened before. Right. Never. You don't go away for that long. And I told him about 2 or 3 days before, and then I left. And the backstory is, I was talking to the women's shelter, because I suddenly realized, wow, I'm one of these women that this guy's describing, and I know women like me don't go. They don't really go. It doesn't matter how miserable I was. There's you get so attached to that person that suddenly you're feeling sorry for them instead of yourself. Right. So, I did a lot of research, and I had also been going to a mindfulness clinic at the hospital where, they actually were teaching me things like mindfulness meditation and so on, but they had counselors there. And those 2 guys, I had 2 of them. No, really. I mean, they had a program, right? So you do what they tell you. And the guys said, why aren't you going? Why? You need to go. And it was about the money. It was total fear. Yeah. I was 54. I said to myself, nobody's going to hire me. There's no way in hell. And I had not worked for 8 years, because suddenly what I forget to tell people is my ex-husband was 20 years older than I was. Right. So he retired, and he decided, we're going to Palm Desert. He's getting a little place. His little place was in a retirement community. Now, I'm 48 years old at that time, retirement community with people average age 80, 90. It was so depressing. Yeah. It was really, really depressing. And I had I got into a creative writing program at UBC with a Canadian author. It was a big deal. Like 23 people out of like 83 got selected.
Wow.
Because I send my manuscript in or whatever it is I wrote, and I got, I couldn't stay for the second. Like it was a 2-year program. I left the first semester and to go because you just went. This was a person who, he was the center of the world, and whatever my desires were, he had an argument for how, you're going to ruin isn't the relationship number one? When I wanted to do a master's degree, isn't the relationship, like, you're going to have to be away or you're going to have to be studying, like, and then I thought, well, maybe he's right. Maybe he's right.
Yeah. So you start believing it.
I decided that I don't know that I believed it as much as I had a value around relationships and marriage. Mm-hmm. Like I do today too, but this man that I'm with is worth it. Like it's worth it. It is so worth it. And he does care about me, and he does care about what's happening here. Right. And so there we were, and it was, I made that decision, and later my daughter told me that she didn't believe that I was actually going to do it.
Oh.
She said she'd heard this before, and I just could never remember, like, I know that there was never a day where I actually made a decision like that. Mm. This was the moment. So I went to Vancouver, and the minute I landed there, my daughter had a list of all the resources that I needed in order to find a job and to support myself,
Really?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It was amazing. It is amazing. And, the other thing I do want to say for your listeners, that when I was in California, I got so depressed from my situation, having been ripped out of that creative writing program. It was very depressing. Mm-hmm. And like to be stuck in this community. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that happened, so this little miracle, I started to binge eat ice cream. And I had not done that in years. Like I had an eating disorder when I was younger and probably all along, but this time it like was raging. And that I thought I need to do something about that. And I ended up in a 12-step program for an eating disorder, and it saved my life.
Oh, really?
It did.
Wow.
It did, because the food was a symptom of the unhappiness.
Right.
And they taught me how to reparent myself from the inside out and to find my value.
Right. Yeah.
So that was like 6 years of learning really to care about myself. And it took that long for me to be able to say, I'm out.
Wow.
I had no idea what was going to happen. But one thing that did happen, I want to tell you about I kept feeling for the whole time that I was being carried, that somehow there were too many wonderful things going on at the same time as I was hysterically frightened. I was terrified. And one was that just before I left, I decided, okay, I'm going to see if there's any work in Vancouver. And I put in change management, and I got, a few places, and I applied. And I said, I'm going to be in Vancouver for 10 days because I truly didn't know what I was going to do, if I was going to stay or not.
Right.
And I got a response while I was in Vancouver, because I said 10 days if you want to see me. And I really did believe that they were not ever going to hire me. Nobody was going to hire. I felt old. I told myself I was old. I was old and I hadn't worked. Therefore, I had nothing.
Right.
There's a lot of bullshit.
Bullshit. You can say that here.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Well, it was like I didn't know it at the time.
Right.
And so I ended up going to this interview, and I was frightened. One of the things that happened was I was very scared of men. Like it translated that way. And then I learned that there was going to be a man who was going to be interviewing me.
Oh, okay.
So somebody said, well, why don't you think of your most favorite person in the world, like male person? Just happened to be one of my gay friends. So go to the interview, and isn't like he the most warm and friendly gay man?
Oh, nice.
Anyway, they were not frightening, and they hired me. Much later, he said, I felt like you really needed this job, because he hired me.
You did. That's powerful.
That was the thing that made it all possible, that I had money coming in, because I'd signed away everything in a prenup. Like I had signed a prenup.
Okay, yeah. So you wouldn't get any like financial backing or anything.
No. And like it would be a quarter of the condo. Like we had a very big house, but we had already downsized.
Right.
So like that, $700,000 house ended up being like less than $400,000. It paid for the lawyers.
Yeah.
And for the car that I had. Right. And with a little bit of extra. And so it was so little. Like those lawyers cost me $50,000.
Right.
And because I was going to fight. I was not going to let this guy, I was going to fight for whatever I could. There just wasn't much to do, but yeah. So I ended up in Vancouver and immediately connected with the Battered Women Support Services.
Okay.
So like they're specialists in women who have been emotionally or physically or financially abused. Right. And I haven't been physically abused, but my counselor said, that she said, though that emotional abuse is way worse and leaves way bigger scars than physical violence, which I thought strange, but interesting.
Yeah.
So here we were, and I showed up there. I had to show up there twice for them to talk to me so I wouldn't go back. Because by then I felt sorry, the poor old guy,
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I hadn't gone there, like they're so specialized in saying, so tell me, what kind of situation would you be going back to? Right. And so is this what you want? I don't know what they did, but it was like it was so obvious. And the first time it was really good, and then I had to go back because I was scared. I wanted, Anyway, those
you had that to go to. And so what type of service was that again?
You know what? It was counseling and also shelter for mothers and children, but also counseling for women who had been abused.
Right. Yeah.
And they had once a week, they had these trauma reduction sessions for people with PTSD, and I had it.
Right.
I was traumatized. I think I traumatized myself just by the way I had snuck out, and who the hell does that?
Right.
I couldn't get things out of the bank. I could the safety deposit, nothing was working. It was scary up until I left, and then what was going to happen? I mean, he was always he was a scary guy. He went after people, he really went after. He was one of those people who love to litigate. Let's sue you. So
okay. Yeah, that would be scary. So there definitely would have been a lot of trauma that you had to kind of work through,
Yes.
right? So, like, what were some of the healing or the steps that you took to kind of get past that trauma? Or what's some of the trauma that you felt?
Well, part of the trauma was that I couldn't think well. Like my thinking, my rational mind was not present very much.
Right.
So I don't think I'd ever been that traumatized. So I didn't know this what the symptoms were, and neither did my daughter. So, for example, I signed a $1,600 rental agreement, and then because I just didn't have it in me to call the city to find out, could I get out of it? How much time do I have? Because I knew it was crazy. But my daughter didn't realize what was going on, and she needed to be there. She would have needed to be there because I couldn't think. The other thing was I would get panic attacks, like at night, severe panic attacks. And then the trauma was also that because of all the emotional abuse, I did not have confidence, and I was really terrified. And so there was like the fog, the panic attacks at night. Like sometimes I would call the helpline, this rescue or suicide prevention, not because I was going to do anything, but because I needed someone to calm me down, and there was no one around.
Right.
So that was they actually taught me how to be in my body.
Right.
They taught me how to get comfortable with to set boundaries. They talked about eventually sexuality, not right at the beginning.
Right.
They taught us how to just talk about what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what the body is doing, and what we want. Very difficult conversation, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was in a circle of women with all kinds of backgrounds. One woman had been kidnapped by her husband. Another woman her boyfriend had hit the children, and he was in jail, and kids were taken away. I mean, it was, I felt really traumatized, but I felt like, okay, some situations feel like they're worse than others. They look worse than others, but the trauma is the same.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. People experience it just in, absolutely. So they always say, and I know you being a coach, and you probably hear a lot about things about our greatest lessons come from our struggles. So what do you think you learned from this whole experience? Like, what's the lessons that you learned from this?
To pay attention when things don't feel good right away. There's the numbing part, where, okay, I'm not happy. I'm feeling something. Let me drown. You know what I forgot to ask you? Is this half hour or an hour?
No, it's an hour.
Okay.
So, you're fine, honey. You're fine.
Okay. So it was like, pay attention. First of all, the signs are there at the very beginning.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. Every time. And that's with friends, with anyone. You get a feeling of what the dynamic is. We are so sensitive, and just pay attention.
Yeah.
If it's too good, if it's too seductive, it's, all of that. Yeah. Thank you, Jade. I can even see that. Isn't that nice?
Jade. Yeah, very insightful. Thank you for being so brave and sharing your story. I know. Thank you. Absolutely. Thanks for the comment.
So, that's one of the things that, just to notice what you're noticing and don't allow yourself to get seduced. I also learned that I do not make some good choices sometimes. Like we get that what we know is we get attracted to what's similar and familiar. So if it was like, my house was like this Italian opera, whoa, whoa, whoa. And, this was a guy like that. And, with lots of stuff going on, and also the seduction of, I read the kind of, I read spiritual books, I'm spiritual. And then the mind says, oh, well, then he's got to be okay. Because, he read that book. Or, in one relationship, you play the classical piano. Oh, like what the heck does that have to do with anything? Wait to know the whole person.
Yeah, and it's funny how we can pick, like, those things. Like, like you said, there's always those signs there. And it's like we can totally, like, bypass them by thinking, like, these little things, like, oh, he likes this, or oh, he likes that. I like that too. And, and then it just, like, erases all of those signs that were there. It's funny how we do that.
We do. And here's what I like now, after so much time, and really not related to this story, but related to this story, is we really need to pay attention to our intuition, the soul part of us, not the spirit or the masculine, which is something that we learn we always go to the head. Let me figure it out. Let me figure it out if this is the right guy. No, the question is, let me feel it. Let me know it. Yeah. Let me check it out.
Yeah.
Here first. So I was going to say, what I learned was, because I can't always trust myself, it is helpful to have someone else vet those people. If you've been in multiple relationships and you get seduced by little things and you don't want to have to trust yourself, it's not worth it. And I said to my daughter, you are going to have to vet or interview anybody I date. And I wasn't into dating for 2 years, I can tell you. Like, I had met the man I'm with now, Donald, in a dance, but I was in the throes of the divorce and the arbitration hearing and gathering my evidence. And it is like, it's a shitstorm, that thing.
Yeah.
So who cared about, I didn't want to be with anybody, which is good. The other thing that I learned is that we give ourselves away for the other person, and you need to have, what people say, I want to have self-confidence, I want to have self-esteem. Well, you have to get a self before you can get that.
That's so, yes, I love that. Yes, you're absolutely right.
And if you are not working on you, you're going to get lost. You'll get lost with your kids. You'll get lost with your spouse. You'll get lost with the boss. You'll get lost because you won't matter.
Right.
We matter.
I love that. That makes so much sense. Oh my gosh. And as women, I mean, we just seem to lose our identity. So in so many ways, right? Like, we become the mom, we become the wife, and they're all of a sudden it's like, well, who am I here? What do I like? What's my purpose here? We lose that. That's, yeah.
Like, the question is, what's my own genius? What's my own creative path? Yeah. And when I say creative, I don't mean artistic.
Right.
Because that's what people think. No, I mean, what is the thing that I love to do that when I do that, everything else stops and I'm with that thing?
Yeah.
It could be a sport. It could be collecting things. It can be anything. But let me find it, because that's my soul talking. And then you don't lose yourself. Or and it's going to be the pathway anyhow. Like that hero's journey, you get to that place early or late, you get there.
Yes, that is true. That is very true.
Earlier is better.
I know, isn't it?
Because, yes and no. It's like it's perfect as it is because it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But wow, I'd like to see women find themselves faster. And they just like, oh, the man is everything, like, or the woman is everything, the partner is everything.
Yeah. No. And I think there's starting to be a big shift now, I think, in the world where people are starting to kind of become awakened to that idea that it's about us, right? Us, me, what do I like? What do I like to do? What are the things I want to do with my life? I find that, don't you think?
Oh, yes.
People are starting to be a little more open to that idea, which is how it should have been all along.
Well, we have been so programmed and conditioned to be a certain way. We don't even know, like, so what's true? So, if we're told that children, marriage, all of those things are important and you have to do everything, and we buy into that, like we don't have the bandwidth for everything.
Right.
And then you decide, like, what is your priority?
Yeah.
And often women particularly, will say, oh, but isn't that selfish? Right?
Yeah. I know.
And there's no self yet to be selfish about.
You're absolutely right.
Those are the kinds of things that after the fact you see, wow. Yeah.
I love that. There has to be a self first.
There has to be a self.
I love it. So let's talk a little bit about the big kind of leap of faith that you took at like 59 years old.
Oh, that one.
59 years young, I'm going to say.
I was almost 60, because I wrote it wrong in my article. Did you? Yes, I said, wait a minute. I was turning 60. I was in October, and I left my corporate job.
You left.
I know.
Just up and left.
And, I had to be challenged. No mistake. For 3 years, I sat in the organization and I had been training as a certified professional coach. And what I didn't realize was how much business skill I needed in order to do that. But that's good. I'm glad I didn't know too much.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like, we never know.
That's true.
But here I was 59. I was about to be 60. And my best friend had died of breast cancer at 60. And I'd gone to visit her. She lived in Israel, and I went to visit her 3 years earlier, and like it just felt like what a waste of a joyous person with 4 children and so many grandchildren, and what the heck? Like, what the heck, right? Yeah. So I sat there noticing that not only I was unhappy, I was depressed. And I know that is a wonderful strategy for big illness, whatever it is, And I thought, what do you want to do? You want to sit in this misery for financial reasons? It wasn't worth it. But it took 3 years, and I was assisting at one of the coaching programs here in Vancouver. I was assisting the facilitators, and one of the facilitators, I said, "Oh, can you put your hands on my head and just, bless me that I may leave eventually from this place?" And she said, "I challenge you to write a letter of resignation tonight, and you send it to me."
Love it.
Well, you know what? It was so perfect. Here's how it felt physically. I felt like I had been thrown against the wall. Like that was the force of that. And that's why I knew that it was okay, that was the right thing. And I wrote that letter of resignation. I couldn't hardly wait. I could hardly wait to give it to my my boss, but she was on vacation. And so I had to wait a week. And I was on big projects, and I had to tell these people, and they were really mad. You know, they were mad.
Oh, really?
Well, they were counting on me. Like, you know, the kind of thing where, yeah, I'm happy for you because you're doing your dream, blah, blah, blah. However, I really needed you for this. I'm afraid of this change, and I needed you. It was not, you know, I felt badly for, but not bad, like not to stay, you know. Because I know they can, you know, we're replaceable. And then I left.
Yeah, in those positions, yeah.
Yes. And what I did was I signed up for a leadership program from the same organization from where I got coached, because I thought it was a 10-month program, and I knew they were going to, you know, they push boundaries. It's an intensive for 10 months. And that's where I went. So the first year, I did not really pay attention to my business. I just kind of, you know, kept it going, but I wasn't working it. I learned how to blog. That was the first thing, because I love writing. And I thought, well, you love writing. Learn, you know, I don't know what a blog is. Like, it's not about just dumping your head on paper, which is what I thought. I'll do a business purpose for this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you know, I just...
so you started over.
I started over, and it felt like that. I felt with my partner, Donald, and then he came with me to this leadership thing, and he resigned from UBC after 22 years, if you can believe it.
Really?
So you know what I felt like? I felt like when I first got married, and so my daughter is from my very first marriage, when I was 20, you know, baby. And I got married, and I felt that excitement of, I'm out of the house. I'm you know, it's my life now. That's how I felt, you know, and now I was like 60, and I felt, whoa, life is beginning. And he also felt life is beginning.
Really? I love it.
It was wild. It felt like, oh, why couldn't I have been here then? Well, I mean, of course, you don't, you know, but that's how it is feeling. And it's still feeling that way. Like, we have been together now for 7 years. Yeah, I call him my husband, but like, I think I'm allergic to the marriage thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. For now, anyway, I just, and he doesn't care. And we're common law, and we've been together for a long time. Like 7 years is good.
Yeah.
You know, solid. And I just adore him. And it's, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I guess you kind of, if you go back to kind of like the lesson too, right? It's like, it's almost like you have to go through those really, really, really crappy relationships to really appreciate and find like the best one ever. You know what I mean? So I guess that could be a lesson in that whole big struggle.
Well, here's the thing about this, because I think that, I'm so glad you brought that up, because the man I'm with is not the man that I would have looked for. Yeah. He was a complete surprise. Like, I couldn't have invented a more unusual person from what I was used to and what I would have looked for. Right. And because I had suffered so much, and he was so shy, like, he was shy, but he was also part of the dance crew. Like, when I went dancing, and he was part of that crew. So he was one of the teachers for the dancing. And, you know, I really liked him, and I could feel he liked me. Like, there was a sweetness there. And when he asked me out, and, you know, I was not dating, and I hadn't dated like for like 20 more years, I was terrified. So I said, well, I'll go out for coffee with you. I don't know about dating, but could we just go out for coffee?
Yeah.
And I had some friends. Like, the other thing is, I still belong to the Overeaters Anonymous group. And so I had a community here. So I had like during this time, I had like two sponsors helping me out when I first came, because I couldn't think. And when I met Donald, he was so kind. I kept saying, but he's so kind. He's so kind. He's so kind. I kept saying that, and my sponsor would say, give him a chance. I said, yeah, but he always talks about his cat, and he lives at home taking care of his two parents who have dementia and. But having suffered so much, I knew that I needed to just experience him and see how it would go. And not reject him, which, that had been his life, right? Just because he had a very difficult situation where he was taking care of his parents.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
I let it all go. And I just was there. I kept thinking, this man is worth it. He's so kind. He was so a good person. So, here's another thing for your viewers. You have to have similar values. You have to talk about those values and see how they really are being lived. Because I lived with my ex. I'm a very generous person. And he no, don't give them apples next door. Like, we bought it for us. It's like,
yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
The values were unbelievably different.
Right.
And to meet someone who has that goodness of heart, wow.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. So that's another thing. Like, check out the values and know yours.
Yes, it's so funny because we could probably have a whole other conversation about relationships. You know what I mean? But I love that, because of your struggle and because of being with the people that you were, I mean, you learned what you weren't going to stand for anymore and what wasn't going to work. Like, I'm not going there again. So that just opened the door for somebody, like you said, that was completely different. And,
he makes things. Like, that's what he does. He was a machinist at UBC. He made robotics. He knows how to make things that work.
Yeah.
And I was one of these snobby intellectuals, not that intellectual, but snobby, And I thought, what? He works in the shop there and helps the engineers create their prototypes. I never even heard of that. I never asked myself, how do things get made?
I know, you didn't ask enough questions, right? That's So I know in your whole journey, you did a lot of reaching out and asking for help from people. So what do you think? Why do you think it's important for women, that are in a situation where they are starting over their lives? Why do you think it's important for them to reach out for help?
Ooh, well, I tell this a lot, but the very first retreat in leadership, the bottom line lesson was leaders ask for help.
Yeah. Right.
And there's no leader that doesn't have a team. Right?
That's true.
No leaders.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do this alone. We wish that, if we had enough money, we'd have people working all the stuff and the camera and the whatever. Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. I was in a state where there was no way that I could do it alone. Mm. That's how it was. Yeah. And I was in front of, I remember getting a counselor because I couldn't get I couldn't get into something, but I had to have someone. And this counselor told me she had just gone through the same thing. She said, Wanda's talking to us. I don't know how I'm seeing her. Thank you,
Miriam. Wanda. Yeah. Oh, Wanda. Hi, Wanda. Miriam, I am your age and totally agree with having the same values. And then she also mentioned, because we are not in this world alone, even though sometimes we feel that way. Yeah.
So here's what I had to do. When I went to Battered Women's, I went to a women's program at the YWCA. They sent me to Dress for Success so that I could have an outfit. Like I learned to get humble, and like I was full of shame. Oh my God, look at me at this age and I ain't got, my money situation. How did I ever get into such a mess? And if I had left and I go in there and I'm now going to get clothes from charity. That is, wow. I used to joke that I went from a Prius to a Yaris. You know how shame, like it took me years to get over myself.
Yeah. And that does come along with it, a lot. Like when you're trying to, do this good thing for yourself, there is a lot of shame that comes along with that. And I'm glad that you brought that up. So how did you kind of break free of that and forgive yourself?
I had to keep thanking myself. Like I got a lot of training from that, from the folks at Battered Women's Support Services. I had to train myself to say thank you. Like, and I actually teach all of this when I work with women. I swear, like you start with me and at bedtime, you better be writing 3 things that you appreciate about yourself. Like I know we can do gratitude too, but I want people to start, oh, thank you, Miriam. You didn't crash the car and you got home. Because I was in a real state of, I had adrenal fatigue. I didn't even know that until later. I was getting rosacea. Like I was stressed and I couldn't eat. And I was like down to a size 4. Not healthy. Right. So, because I was in terror all the time. Because until I settled, I didn't know that I was going to be okay. Because it was so completely different from anything I'd ever experienced.
Yeah.
So, so that was part of it. And the other thing was to tell people and be vulnerable and say, I'm uncomfortable that I have this car. Now that stopped a long time ago, but it's like if you can say it, it takes it away. Because and they know that these things are not what matters. Like no one's going to say on my tombstone, oh, she only had a this or a that. It's not going to be about the things. It's going to be about, like, did I dare to be myself fully? So then it's like, find what's the self, and then let's draw the self out. Yeah. Let's draw the self out. And now speak from your own self. The other thing we learned in leadership, ask for help and be who you are. And so we got labeled, or, we all got characterized, and we had to emphasize and amplify. And, my top characteristics is eccentricity. Now, yes, of course it fits.
Of course.
Like I'm on your show. I also thought, well, in case, I'll bring my magic wand. Like be more, dare to have a voice. Yeah. Dare to just come out, and slowly if you have to. Do I think that people should just do that? What I did? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does Wanda say here? Regardless of our stress reasons, we need relief. We need better coping habits. Or I know I do. Being 54 does have benefits. I'm knowing myself better, starting to know what I need to do. I just need to do it. Yes. That's right. Stop saying it. Right? Like, how many years did you go in your mind saying that you were going to leave, you were going to leave, you were going to leave? You knew that you had to leave. You knew that you had to leave.
No, I didn't say I had to leave. I just said, God, I hate my life.
Yeah.
And, my doctor was medicating me. Like, okay, here's another antidepressant. Like, honestly. So by the time I left, I was off of those, thank goodness, because I couldn't tolerate anymore, And so let's not wait until we can't tolerate. The thing is, this was not a person who could actually do anything to help himself or change. I didn't know that until I read that book, right? And you can let your folks know, like with the name of that book.
Yeah, I'll put it in the comments. You'll have to tell me what it is again.
I will. Yeah. But okay, I lost it. I'm not.
It's all good. No, it's all good. There's something that I wanted to ask you about, because I know that you write about. I love that you say that we too can be earth angels. Like, I was reading what you're writing, and you said earth angels. So what is an earth angel? Tell me what that is exactly.
So I was writing for Dress for Success. I finally reached out like 8 years later. I said, you know what? I want to do something for you, because it was such a beautiful experience that I had. Mm-hmm. Like, they were so gracious. I was so ashamed. That was, oh my God, I'm going for clothes. My God, like, where did I get to? And, also, I had to, like, I went to get stuff for the kitchen and, in different places. So, like, I watched myself do all of that, right?
Yeah.
And I forgot the damn question, because I'm like,
oh my gosh, you are so like me. I do that all the time.
I'm just, well, I suddenly got back there, and okay, now I know exactly where we are.
The Earth Angels. Yeah. So yeah.
So I wrote
what is that?
Them, and I thought they were earth angels for me. All of the hands that helped me, that got me cutlery. Oh my God, I had cutlery and dishes from all kinds of people. This was through my OA, and I was going to AA just because I needed meetings. But it's like all these pairs of hands for me were earth angels, and I think we can be earth angels for others.
Absolutely, it's so beautiful.
I just thought, this is how I can describe them.
Yeah. And speaking of angels, I'm going to pull an angel card at the end.
Oh, that would be fun.
I always do that. Yeah. But another thing, before we kind of go, because we're getting close to the end, which is so unfortunate.
I'm looking.
So the topic really about never being too old. Like, what do you want to say to people that actually think that way, that they're too old? What would you say?
It goes under the same category as not enough, not good enough, not young enough, not old enough, not tall enough, not anything enough. It is all for the sake of stalling and keeping the status quo. Mm-hmm. And it's resistance. And resistance, like, if you guys have not read, I put it away, War of Art, and it's all about how to get through the resistance. It's like, was it Wanda?
Yeah, Wanda.
Well, I can't get through, when am I going to get to the things I say I want to do? We all have that. And you know what? There's no answer to that other than put your ass down on the chair and start. Now, I happen to have a trick for that. And that is, set your damn timer. Get a timer for 15 minutes and begin, even if it is just like moving papers around. Any task you don't love, start with, get a timer. That's how I do any cooking dishes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to break through. And once you've broken through, like your soul wants this for you. Like, do it. So what would I say to anybody who says they're too old? It's just bullshit. And find some people, go find the people who are doing amazing work, climbing, the Alps at 90 and whatever. So you may not have that physical strength, but I would say, like, watch your health. Make your health be important, because when it gets important, like when things start to fall apart and break, if you can do it, be mindful of that, of your health. But for goodness sake, it's like it's all thinking. It's a bullshit thought. It's a thought, and thoughts are not real, and we think they're real and they're not.
Yeah,
we made them up. Make up a better.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's
age
true.
has nothing to do with it. Age is all, physically, yes. We age. We know that. But if you think, now, okay, so here's what I know for sure. I have a certain wisdom and experience now that I can count on.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, and so when I sit with people who don't have that, I can impart something. So as you get older, and this is the midlife thing, it gets better and better and better, because you can now capitalize on all the wisdom that you've accumulated, because you have it.
And embrace it, right? Embrace getting older. It's not a bad thing.
You know what? Maybe you don't even have a conversation about that. Maybe you have a conversation about, what creative thing are you working on? What creative project? Do you want to know my projects? I'm 63, but I also have some projects I'm working on.
Tell me.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, change the conversation.
Yeah.
The conversation about age and all that has to do with death and mourning and sadness and loss. But we're talking about aliveness now.
Yeah.
We're, never too old is your people want to be alive.
Yeah.
We are alive.
Yeah. I know. We rock, Wanda.
Rock was right.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Women are just so delicious. Like, we rock because we are amazing. I'm not saying the men aren't, but I just recognize that the longing and the conditioning, and you probably have to end with your card.
Oh, well, guess what? I was like kind of shuffling them while you were talking, and this card flew out, and it's so crazy. It's the have confidence card.
That's perfect, isn't it?
See her? Isn't this nice?
You have to read.
I'll have to read what it says. Yeah, it says, have confidence. Moving forward does not necessarily require you to have confidence in yourself. Confidence in God is enough, along with knowing that God works through you and with you in all ways. Lean upon us in your confidence, if your confidence wavers, and we will buoy your courage and faith.
That's what happened for me.
Is that not crazy?
I love the way cards are always right on.
I know. And if I read about it a little bit further in the book, it says, this card is a message from your angel saying, you can do it. Trust that you have all the ingredients it takes to complete the mission that's before you. Although you may not completely understand how you'll fulfill this task, have faith that you will be continually guided. The more you can depersonalize this mission and know that it's not about you, the better. Don't listen to the voice that asks, who, me? You are utterly worthy, since you are a perfect daughter or son of the Creator, and the angels surround you every step of the way. And additional meanings would be stay in the moment, focus on one step at a time, give all your worries or concerns to God and the angels, and ask angels to increase your faith, and trust that God's love and wisdom are working through you. Oh my gosh. Can you believe it?
That's beautiful. And you know what? When you get a self, come out of hiding. That's what we need to do. Hide. Do not hide.
Right.
Come out and be you.
Yes.
This was beautiful.
Oh, thanks for being here. I love you so much. I really do. I'm just so glad that you were here for this hour, and really, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. You're doing beautiful work in the world. Our job is to serve, so let's get out there and do it.
Yeah, I agree. And I just want to thank everybody for watching. I know we had some people watching live. Thank you so much, you guys. Oh, Stephanie said thank you both so much. I really needed this today.
Oh, what a
awesome.
pleasure.
Oh, so nice.
We did our job.
We did our job.
We helped, somebody needed this. That's all. We can say our day is great already.
No, I know. It's so true. And again, thank you, everybody. And if anyone's watching the replay later, feel free again to add comments. I'll go back and look through them afterwards.
I'd love to see those comments.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Miriam, thank you.
Beautiful.
Have a wonderful day, my dear. We'll chat soon.
We'll have to do this in reverse now.
Yes. I'll be excited to do that. Awesome. All right, honey. Have a great day. And thanks for watching, everybody. See you later.
Bye-bye.